Have you ever found yourself stuck in a painful cycle, chasing love, only to end up feeling empty, unappreciated, and questioning your worth? Do you keep repeating the same pattern in relationships, even though you promised yourself you wouldn't? If this sounds like you, then this video is exactly what you need to hear. In this powerful video, we're diving deep into the hidden emotional wounds that keep you stuck in toxic cycles and how to finally break free. You'll discover why you keep attracting the wrong kind of love and what's driving your choices, even when you know it's hurting you. It's not just about recognizing the pain, it's about understanding the root of the problem and why healing doesn't happen through simply waiting for someone else to change. We'll explore how self-deception has kept you trapped in the past and how the awakening to your true worth is the key to unlocking the love you truly deserve. By the end of this video, you'll know how to stop chasing love and start becoming the love you've always wanted. This video isn't just about understanding why you've been stuck, it's about taking the first step toward transformation. And I promise, it's going to change everything for you. Stay with me until the end, and you'll walk away with the tools to heal your wound and embrace a love that's real. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Carl Jung captured this truth with incredible clarity. The unconscious mind, with its deep, mysterious workings, is always striving for wholeness. It seeks to complete itself, often in the most painful ways. One of the ways it does this is through symbolic repetition. This means that without even realizing it, we often find ourselves drawn to people who make us feel the same way that we felt when we were hurt, hoping, perhaps desperately, that this time things will turn out differently. It's a heartbreaking trap, and it's where the deepest self-deception begins. You may believe deep down that if you just try hard enough, you can earn the love of someone incapable of giving it. You might find yourself attached to someone who is emotionally unavailable, ambivalent, someone who pulls you in one moment and pushes you away the next. But instead of walking away, instead of protecting yourself, something inside you refuses to let go. There's this ancient, almost hidden voice that whispers in the depths of your soul, if I can just make them choose me, if I can get them to love me, then I will finally be worthy. Then I will feel whole, like I've finally fixed myself. But here's the painful truth. That love never comes. It's an illusion, a fantasy you chase that leaves you drained and empty. You stay, you wait, you endure, you justify it all to yourself, convincing yourself that you're fighting for something valuable, when in reality you're merely repeating the very wound that has shaped you. This is where your deepest hurt resides, where you learn to exist in a place of lack, in a place where your needs were never fully met. And that's what feels familiar, even though it's not healthy. You become so used to the absence of love, the lack of reciprocity, that it starts to feel like home. You give everything you have, and in return, you get only scrap small gestures that are barely enough to keep you clinging on. A fleeting text, a random compliment, a glance that makes your heart flutter, but then it's gone, leaving you empty again. You build entire worlds out of these small moments, constructing castles out of illusions and fleeting promises. Your mind becomes a master at filling in the gaps, making something from nothing, convincing your heart that maybe, just maybe, this is enough. But it's never enough, is it? The most gut-wrenching part comes when someone finally treats you well, when they see you, care for you, and offer you the love you've always dreamed of, but you can't accept it. Something inside you pulls back. It feels foreign, too good to be true, even boring. You reject it, even though it's exactly what your soul has been craving for so long. Why? Because your wound doesn't recognize healthy love. For you, love has always been tangled with struggle, sacrifice, anxiety, and heartache. It has always been dramatic, complicated, and exhausting. So when love doesn't come with those painful markings, it feels unsettling. Your system is out of balance. Without that chaos, that's not love. You think, that's just not real. But in reality, what you've been experiencing all along isn't love. It's normalized emotional trauma. Your body, your mind, and your heart have all learned to exist in a constant state of alert. You've been conditioned to expect disappointment, to fear abandonment, to find comfort in the very pain that's been the backdrop of your life. And when you're caught in a cycle of hurting, somehow you feel more alive than when things are calm. Pain becomes your comfort zone. It's what you've known. And so, you continue. You keep hoping that this time, things will be different. That this time, someone will break through the walls of your heart and heal you. But until you recognize the truth, that love is not supposed to be a constant struggle, you'll keep searching for it in places that will only leave you more wounded. You deserve more than this. You deserve a love that nurtures, not one that repeats the same old hurt. This is where the pattern becomes dangerously addictive. Every time you're rejected, it reignites the old, deep wound, the wound of that little girl inside you who was never enough. The girl who wasn't held when she needed it most, who was unseen, whose every ounce of attention had to be earned at a cost. She's still there, quietly crying out for someone to say, "I choose you, I love you, I see you." That longing for love, validation, and acceptance is still alive in you, even though the years have passed and the heartache hasn't quite faded. But instead of finding that love in the places where you deserve it, where it's offered freely and without strings, you seek it in people who are incapable of giving you what you truly need. And so the cycle repeats itself relentlessly. You keep falling into the same old patterns of seeking love in the wrong places, from people who can't see you for who you truly are. You convince yourself that if you just try harder, if you love more fiercely, it will work, but it doesn't. Love becomes a battleground, a battle you fight over and over again, only to lose every single time. Each defeat chips away at your self-esteem, drains your energy, and robs you of the peace that you desperately crave. Eventually, you reach a place where you're not even sure what you're fighting for anymore. Are you fighting for love? Or are you simply reliving the cycle of abandonment? It's a blurry line, a painful truth that makes you question everything. This is where awareness becomes the key to breaking free. As long as the wound remains hidden, buried in the shadows of your subconscious, it will continue to choose your relationships for you. It will disguise dependency as love, convincing you that you're just one step away from the happiness you've been chasing. It will make you believe that the problem lies within you, not in the unhealthy dynamics you've fallen into. The truth, though, is far more difficult to accept. What you need is to heal that part of you, the part that learned to suffer in silence, to endure the pain, believing that's what love looks like. What you need isn't for someone else to change. It isn't about waiting for them to come around, to offer you the love and attention you deserve. It's about you waking up. It's about you recognizing the pattern that's been playing out in your life for far too long. You need to see clearly that loving from a place of lack, from a place of yearning and hunger, will never bring fulfillment. It will only leave you emptier. You are deserving of something different, something real, something that nurtures you and doesn't require you to sacrifice your soul. But to receive that love, you must stop chasing after what can't give you anything. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Emotional self-deception is what keeps you trapped in this never-ending loop. It's the lie you tell yourself to justify staying in toxic, imbalanced relationships that have never truly given you what you need. It's not that you can't leave. It's that you don't leave because you've created a story in your mind that justifies everything wrong. You convince yourself that it's not so bad. You convince yourself that there's something about this situation worth fighting for, when in reality, all you're doing is hurting yourself over and over again. This is emotional self-deception at its most insidious, a subconscious strategy designed to keep you from facing the painful truth. When you're with someone who doesn't see you, who makes you feel small, invisible, confused, or unworthy, part of you knows it. You feel it in the pit of your stomach. You sense it in your bones. But then there's another part of you, the part that is the most vulnerable, the most broken, that begins to tell a different story, a story that excuses their behavior, that justifies their absence, that convinces you that they are like this because they've suffered too. I understand. You tell yourself they've been through so much. They just don't know how to love. It doesn't bother me. It's okay. I can handle it. You make excuses. You build a narrative that makes their mistreatment seem like a result of their pain rather than the reflection of their inability to truly love. You convince yourself that deep down they love you, they just don't know how to show it. And in doing so, you put yourself in a place of constant waiting, constantly giving, justifying someone else's inability to give you the love you need. But the truth is, this is not love. It's a story you tell yourself to survive, to avoid the pain of facing the truth. The truth is that love is not supposed to feel like a battle. It's not supposed to leave you feeling empty and exhausted. Real love isn't conditional. It doesn't come with endless strings, with sacrifices that break you down. It's time to stop justifying the unjustifiable, to stop living in a cycle of self-deception. The love you deserve is waiting for you, but only when you stop accepting anything less. Without realizing it, you begin to sustain the relationship more with your imagination than with reality. You construct a narrative, a beautiful, painful illusion, where you turn what is abuse into sensitivity, coldness into trauma, indifference into a fear of love, and instability into a deep, misunderstood emotional bond. It feels noble. It feels loving. It feels like empathy. You convince yourself you are the compassionate one, the understanding partner, the one who sees beyond the surface, the one who can endure it all for the sake of love. But deep down, you know it's not love at all. It's fear. It's the fear of accepting the reality that they're not choosing you. It's the fear of acknowledging that, despite all you give, despite every ounce of love and effort you pour into them, they won't change. They won't be who you hope they'll be, and they won't give you the love you deserve. It's the fear of facing the truth that, deep within, you're terrified of being left alone, with nothing but your open wound and the harsh truth that you've been clinging to an illusion for comfort. The hardest part, however, isn't the loss of the person. It's the loss of the story you created to avoid seeing what you didn't want to face. What hurts the most is not losing them. It's losing the carefully constructed narrative that shielded you from the painful reality. You didn't want to see that they were using you, that they were incapable of offering the love you were so desperately searching for. So you convince yourself to hold on, to keep believing that things will get better, that if you just hold out long enough, they will eventually change. You justify their silence, their emotional distance, their mood swings, their absences, because you don't want to face the truth. You tell yourself they're going through something tough, that they'll open up later, that the sweetness they sometimes show proves they're capable of love. You tell yourself maybe they're just having a hard time, anything to make it easier, anything to keep the illusion alive. But what you're doing deep down is turning your wounds into excuses to endure the unendurable. You're using your compassion as a shield to protect you from the pain of abandonment. You can't bear the thought of accepting that they're using you, that they don't love you, that there's no reciprocity, no real connection, and so you endure, you forgive over and over again, without them ever asking for forgiveness. Why? Because if you let yourself see it clearly, you would have to leave You would have to set boundaries. You would have to face the truth. If I leave, no one will ever truly love me. The truth is terrifying. It's too much to bear. So instead, you stay. You choose the safest path for your emotional survival, self-deception. But this approach can only work for so long. Eventually, your body begins to speak louder than your excuses. The anxiety becomes constant, tight in your chest, always there, pulling at you. You stop sleeping properly. You don't recognize yourself in the mirror anymore. The woman you once knew, full of hope and light, starts to fade away. And all that's left is someone desperately holding on to a relationship that doesn't hold them. Your world revolves around someone who doesn't revolve around you. And that, my dear, begins to crack your soul. The betrayal isn't just from the relationship. It's the betrayal of yourself. You lied to yourself. You dimmed your light. You convinced yourself that enduring was loving. And in doing so, you became an expert at forgiving someone who didn't even ask for forgiveness, all because you were so terrified of being alone, terrified of abandonment, terrified that without them, you wouldn't be enough. But here's the bitter truth, that fear is not new. That person didn't create it. That fear has been there all along, hidden deep within you. It comes from much earlier in life, from your earliest bonds, the moments when you needed love and affection and didn't get it, the moments when you felt invisible, like something was wrong with you, the moments when you learned to be the understanding one, the one who doesn't complain, the one who waits, the one who adapts, the one who tolerates. You learned to be everything they needed, but you never learned to need anything for yourself. And now, here you are, repeating the same painful story. Your wound is still there, lurking in the background, telling you that if you're patient, empathetic, and more loving, one day they'll wake up. One day, they'll see you for who you are and love you the way you've always wanted. But deep down, you know the painful truth: they won't, they can't. And until you face that truth, until you stop feeding the illusion, you will continue to be trapped in a cycle that hurts you more than you ever realized. You deserve better. You deserve someone who chooses you every day, someone who sees you, loves you, and values you. But first, you must choose yourself. When you love from a wound, you are not truly choosing from a place of self-love, but from a place of need. The love you seek is not rooted in your wholeness, but in a desperate attempt to fill a void. The person who enters your life doesn't come to heal that wound. Instead, they come to reflect it, to mirror back to you the pain and emptiness that you haven't yet faced, the hurt you haven't yet healed. They are not the ones who will fix you. No, they are the catalyst for revealing what you still need to mend. And that's why the cycle repeats itself. No matter how many different faces it wears, the pattern remains the same hollow ache when they don't respond, the same agonizing longing when they pull away, the same flicker of hope that emerges when they show even the smallest sign of affection. You spend months, sometimes years, or even decades, clinging to the belief that your story will finally come true. You tell yourself, this time, it will be different. But it doesn't change. It can't, because it was never love to begin with. It was just a reflection of your deepest fears. The bravest thing you can do is not keep waiting for the illusion to manifest. It's to face the raw, painful truth. It's to admit to yourself that you've been lying to yourself, justifying the unjustifiable, all because you didn't know how to live without that illusion. You didn't know how to live without the hope that maybe, just maybe, the love you were craving could come from a place of brokenness. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. That's where true change begins. When you stop lying to yourself, when you refuse to hide behind false hope, when you finally choose to see reality, even though it hurts like nothing you've ever known. Change doesn't come when you keep hoping things will magically get better. It comes when you stop feeding the lie. It comes when you start siding with your dignity, not your need. You choose yourself, not out of self-pity, but out of self-respect. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's necessary. No real transformation happens without a dose of truth. And sometimes, the hardest truth is the one that ultimately sets you free. It is the truth that shakes you to your core, but liberates your spirit from the chains of illusion. It's the truth that reveals the strength you've always had within you, buried beneath the layers of self-deception. Many of us ask ourselves a silent, painful question after a breakup or after we fall back into the same unhealthy relationship. How could this have happened again? What hurts the most isn't just the heartbreak or the betrayal. It's the realization that despite promising ourselves we wouldn't repeat the same mistakes, we chose it again. That feeling of defeat is crushing. But here's the thing. It's not a coincidence. It's an unconscious mechanism. It's a pattern that runs so deep that it can't simply be broken by willpower alone. It's a wound from the past, a pattern formed in childhood that keeps resurfacing, replaying the same painful scenarios over and over again. This is the cycle of trauma, a vicious loop that repeats because the wound hasn't been healed. You may think you've moved on, that you've learned from your past, but until you face the root of that pain, the unconscious mind will continue to recreate those same experiences, pulling you back into the drama, the heartbreak, the emptiness. It's not because you're weak, it's because you haven't yet faced the pain that created the pattern. It's time to stop asking why it's happening and start asking what you need to heal. What is the root of your wound? And how can you heal it? So you stop recreating the same pain, the same heartbreak, the same sense of unworthiness over and over again. Until you break free from that unconscious cycle, you will keep choosing the same brokenness. It's time to choose healing. Instead, it's time to choose self-love, to choose to face the truth, no matter how difficult it is. Only then will you break the pattern and step into the love you truly deserve. Carl Jung's words cut to the heart of one of life's most painful truths. What isn't made conscious manifests as fate. And that's precisely what happens with emotional wounds that go unhealed. These wounds don't just sit there quietly, waiting for time to make them disappear. They grow, they shift, they show up in ways we can't ignore. They manifest themselves in how we love, how we connect, and how we give ourselves away until we finally see them for what they are. Until we acknowledge them, embrace them, and choose to transform them, they will continue to control us from the shadows, shaping our every relationship and experience. When a wound from your childhood, be it abandonment, rejection, humiliation, betrayal, or a lack of love, gets trapped inside you, it imprints itself on your emotional system like an internal map. This map is not just something you can wish away. From there, you begin to repeat the same patterns over and over, not because you want to suffer, but because your soul is desperate to close what was left open. It seeks resolution through relationships, because intimate connections are the perfect stage for your unconscious to reenact those unresolved wounds. In love, in connection, in vulnerability, those are the places where your traumas are most activated, where they find their voice, where they come to the surface. You may wonder why, despite all logic, you sometimes fall in love with a wild, irrational intensity, believing that person is your destiny, your missing piece, your soulmate, someone you've known in another life. But what's happening is an unconscious recognition. Your wound doesn't recognize them from a place of light, but from a place of pain. Your unconscious says, "This feels like the abandonment I lived through. This feels like the rejection I couldn't heal." And so, you stay. You believe that this time, you can change the story, fix the past, rewrite what was broken. You stay, thinking you can heal the wound by loving harder, by being more present, by doing more than you've ever done before. But the truth is, you can't. That person isn't there to heal you. They are there to show you what you haven't healed, to reflect the wound you still carry. Until you see this, until you understand that your unconscious is at play, you will keep repeating the trauma over and over again. Different faces, but the same wound. Different relationships, but the same heartbreak. Trauma has a silent and insidious way of pulling you back into what feels familiar. Even if that familiarity destroys you, it tricks you into thinking that the new is dangerous, that the healthy is boring, that the simple doesn't feel real. Your body has become so accustomed to surviving in the storm, to living in chaos, that when calm finally arrives, it doesn't know how to handle it. It gets anxious. It feels empty. The truth is, your soul doesn't know how to rest in peace because it's never learned to rest in peace. You've been conditioned to survive the storm. You've been conditioned to stay in relationships that mirror your deepest wounds. But there comes a point, if you're brave enough to face it, when you must choose something different. You must choose healing. You must choose to make what's unconscious conscious, to stop repeating the trauma, and to finally start living a life that doesn't have to constantly mirror your past. It's not easy, but it's the only path to real freedom. And that's where real change begins. Not in continuing to relive the pain, but in choosing to heal it. That's the insidious power of unhealed emotional trauma. It binds you to your past wounds, forcing you to relive the same pain over and over again. It distances you from what could heal you, keeping you trapped in a cycle of suffering. As long as that wound remains unconscious, it will keep creating situations that mirror the ones that first scarred you. And the hardest part of it all? It does so with your consent. You justify it. You defend it. You sustain it. You convince yourself that this is what love looks like, that this is what you deserve, because your soul has learned to confuse love with pain. If you grew up believing love had to be earned, that it was something you had to try endlessly to deserve, that you had to wait patiently for it to be given, then when someone offers you love unconditionally, it becomes terrifying. It doesn't fit the map you've created. It feels foreign, unsettling, because it's never been part of the reality you've known. So, instead of receiving it, you reject it. You seek, once again, the emotionally unavailable person, the one who doesn't choose you, the one who makes you feel like you're never enough. Not because you're foolish, but because your trauma is still in the driver's seat, steering the wheel of your life. But here's the truth. That trauma isn't healed by more love from others. It's soothed by awareness. True healing comes when you dare to look back at your past with new eyes, when you allow yourself to see that the little girl who suffered abandonment, who believed she had to be perfect to be loved, is still waiting for someone to tell her, "I see you, you're enough. You don't have to fight anymore." But the reality is, no one else can give her that. Only you can. As long as you continue seeking external validation, searching for others to fix what's broken inside you, you'll continue to fall into the same abyss. Time and time again. It's a painful, exhausting cycle, and it can only be broken when you take responsibility for your healing. Relationships don't heal your wounds. They expose them. They bring your unhealed, unintegrated parts into the light. And that is painful. It's uncomfortable. It stirs up everything you've tried to bury. But it's also an opportunity. Every time you find yourself caught in the same painful patterns, you have a choice. You can sink deeper into the wound, or you can use that experience as a gateway to true healing. Repetition isn't your punishment. It's your mirror. It shows you exactly what you need to see. Even if it's hard to face, the key to breaking the cycle isn't in blaming yourself or anyone else. It's in looking at that mirror with honesty, without judgment, without the self-criticism that has kept you stuck for so long. When you begin to see what the mirror reflects, without shame or blame, you take the first step toward breaking the pattern. It won't happen overnight. But it will happen when you stop chasing after what hurts you, when you stop believing that pain is the only way to feel alive, when you finally choose to break free from the cycle. Only then will you start to find the healing that has always been within you. When you choose not to justify the unjustifiable. When you set boundaries not out of pride, but out of self-love. When you walk away. Not because you don't feel, but because you don't want to keep bleeding for someone who doesn't know how to care. That's when the real awakening begins. It's not a dramatic declaration of independence or an angry departure. It's a quiet, firm decision to protect yourself. It's knowing deep in your soul that you are worth more than what you've been accepting. A woman who has faced her wound with compassion no longer stays in places where there is no reciprocity, no longer accepts emotional crumbs, tells herself that a half love is enough. She no longer has to convince herself that it's okay to settle for less. No longer does she waste her energy on convincing herself that if she just loves harder or waits longer, she will be loved in return. She knows her worth. She understands that love is not about begging or sacrificing, but about mutual respect, care, and giving. A woman who has truly seen herself in the mirror of her relationships and chosen to heal no longer repeats the trauma. She transforms it. She doesn't carry it around as a badge of honor, nor does she wear it as a scar for the world to see. She turns her pain into wisdom, and from that wisdom, she starts to love differently. She no longer loves from a place of lack, of desperation, of fear. She loves from a place of awareness, aware of her needs, aware of her worth, aware of what love is. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Healing the wound and choosing differently, the awakening that changes everything. There is a moment in every woman's life who has loved from her wound when something inside her breaks, but this time, it's not the way it used to be. This time, it's not a fall into darkness. It's a crack that leads toward the light, an inner rupture that doesn't destroy her. It opens her. It opens her eyes to the truth. It opens her soul to the possibilities. It opens her to the light that was always there, waiting for her to notice. In that moment, though it hurts, though she's filled with tears, though fear grips her tightly, there's a part of her that can no longer sleepwalk through life. That part of her awakens. That moment arrives when she can no longer sustain the emotional lie that kept her trapped. She can't justify what isn't love any longer. She can't keep telling herself that she can make it work, that she can change the other person, that she can do more to earn love. She's deeply tired of chasing after something that never truly chose her in the first place. Even if her heart is still holding on, even if the love still lingers like an unhealed scar, she chooses to leave. Even if it's excruciating, she chooses to let go. Even if her entire being trembles at the thought of moving on, she chooses to prioritize herself. That's an act of awakening, and no one can do it for her. This is something she must do alone. This is her moment, her decision, her rebirth. Healing a wound isn't a magical event. It's not some sudden miraculous transformation that happens overnight. It's not waking up one day and suddenly feeling fine. Healing is deep, messy, and real. It's not a straight line. It's a process of coming to terms with your past, with the parts of yourself you've been ignoring. Healing is sitting with yourself, acknowledging the truth that you were that girl who didn't feel enough, that you grew up believing you had to sacrifice yourself to be loved, that you learned to love from fear and waiting, that you betrayed yourself over and over to avoid losing others. But healing is also about looking at yourself with compassion, seeing those painful truths with soft eyes, and adding one thing that changes everything: no more. It's the moment you decide you will no longer settle, no longer endure pain that doesn't serve you, no longer accept less than you deserve. It's when you finally permit yourself to stop trying to fix what was never your responsibility to fix. It's when you decide that you will choose yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. This is the awakening that changes everything. It's not easy. It doesn't happen in one sweeping moment. It's messy, sometimes confusing, and often painful, but every step forward is a step toward reclaiming your power, your worth, your love. And when you heal yourself, when you choose yourself, that's when you start to truly live. That's when you start loving in a way that fills you up instead of draining you. And that's when the real magic begins. There comes a moment in every woman's life when the pain that once held her back, that had kept her stuck in patterns of self-doubt and self-sacrifice, stops being an excuse and starts becoming a driving force. It no longer justifies what she allows. It becomes the very fuel that propels her to build what she truly deserves. That is healing. The moment when you stop repeating your wounds and start choosing from a place of awareness. It's not about waiting for someone to heal you or trying to fix what was never your responsibility. It's about understanding your pain and using it as the foundation for your growth. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the journey where the soul meets itself, where you stop living for others, stop wearing masks to meet expectations, and begin to integrate your shadow, your wounds, and your story, not to hide them, not to bury them, but to understand them. When you understand your pain, you stop projecting it onto others. You stop looking for validation from people who can't give you what you need. You stop seeking to prove your worth through someone else's love, because for the first time, you understand that you are already enough. It's not just a nice phrase to repeat. You are enough. It's a deep, undeniable truth that takes root in your body when you do the inner work. When you face the pain you've avoided your entire life. When you stop running, stop begging, stop chasing, and start walking toward yourself, you start coming home to the person you were always meant to be. That path isn't easy. It isn't a straight line. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you doubt, when you question your choices, when you miss the very things that hurt you, because the emotional system can sometimes return to what is familiar, even when that familiarity was toxic. It's like an old habit, a reflex to reach for what once felt safe, even if it's not good for you anymore. But here's the difference. Now, you've seen the pattern, you've hit rock bottom, and though it was dark, that bottom became the door that opened to your true worth. That was the moment you realized you are more than the sum of your past wounds. You are whole. When a woman sees herself with truth, when she no longer shies away from her reflection, she stops negotiating her dignity. She stops giving away her energy to places and people where there's no reciprocity, where her love and effort are met with indifference. She stops begging for affection from someone who only offers her coldness, who makes her feel invisible. And that shift, that changes everything. She begins to feel more peace in her own company than she ever did in bad company. She starts to enjoy the silence, to cherish her own body, to take pleasure in her own decisions, no longer seeking someone else's approval, no longer needing anyone to tell her she's enough, because she already knows it. This is where your life truly begins. The moment you stop sacrificing your well-being for a love that doesn't return it, the moment you start choosing yourself, you begin to rebuild your life. And it will be a life filled with peace, dignity, and a love that comes from the deepest, most authentic place within you. That love, the love you've been seeking all along, is already inside of you, waiting to be claimed. And when you claim it, everything changes. You begin to love from a place of fullness, not from emptiness. You start choosing from awareness, not from the wounds of your past. And in that transformation, the love that enters your life no longer makes you question your worth, no longer makes you chase after affection, no longer leaves you feeling confused or unsure. Real love doesn't drain you. It doesn't make you feel like you're fighting for every ounce of recognition. Real love sees you, not just for what you do or how you look, but for who you truly are, even when you're not speaking, even when you're not asking for anything. Real love doesn't require you to beg for attention or approval. It shows up in action, in consistency, in gestures that are genuine and heartfelt, not in empty promises that fade when the words stop. Most importantly, real love doesn't try to fill the void inside you. Instead, it stands beside you, quietly supporting you. As you fill that void yourself, it's not there to fix you or complete you, because you are already complete. It's there to walk with you as you discover your worth, your strength, your capacity for love. That's what happens when you choose differently. It's not because you've banished fear from your heart or because you've stopped loving. You still love, but you love yourself first. You choose yourself first. You recognize that your happiness, your peace, and your sense of worth come from within, not from anyone else. You stop denying yourself the love and care that you deserve. And in doing so, you open the door for the right kind of love to enter whole love, true love, love that sees you as you are and values you without condition, because you finally understood that the most important love isn't the love you receive from others. It's the love you stop denying yourself. You are worthy of your love. And when you claim that, when you stop waiting for someone else to give it to you, everything changes. That's when the real, fulfilling love you've always longed for begins to flow freely into your life. As we wrap up today's video, take a moment to reflect on everything we've discussed. We've explored how healing comes from within, how real love starts with you, and how the most important love you can give yourself is the love you stop denying. No longer living from a place of lack, but from fullness, no longer choosing out of pain, but out of awareness. This shift is where true change begins. So, what have you learned so far? What insights or realizations have stood out to you in this video? I'd love to hear from you. Comment below and share one thing you've learned today that you plan to bring into your own life. What will you start practicing differently from now on? And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for being here. And remember, the love you seek is already within you, waiting to be embraced